everybody?
We got Ben Patton over here.
And Darko Conquerus. We're back. Episode 7, right?
8.
8. Ladies and gentlemen, we made it to 8.
It's moving too fast. Yeah.
So much
This
going
podcast
on.
is growing up too fast. I remember when I had it like in my arms like this.
It was just a baby a week ago.
It was running around it was like that, running around. Yeah.
Sucking from the teat of our computers. So, no, man. So, let's catch everybody up. Today, if you're joining us, April 23rd. So we never know when we end up posting this on YouTube. So if you watch this and we post it 2 days later, we are recording April 23rd, 2020. The U.S. is currently at 49,845 alleged deaths from the coronavirus, almost 900,000 cases, and only 10% of those cases have people recovered. A much slower recovery rate than China, which is shocking. I feel like China recovered really quick, much quicker than I thought. That's the U.S. though. How many people have died in the world? 190,000 people today from the very beginning, which I think the very, very first case, almost patient zero, was sometime in late November, was what I heard was the first case that kind of came up on the radar. 2.7 million coronavirus cases worldwide. Darko, what is going on in the U.S. as far as this coronavirus, man?
Yeah, and interesting thing. So people who recovered, they started exhibiting some weird symptoms. Like they have a strange, they want to, they have a strange appetite for brains.
Oh, okay. I was like following you there for a second. I was like, okay, what is this you're talking about? Zombies. Okay, you lost me.
There you go. There you go. Nothing. I mean, while, zombies would be devastating, we do have one of the states deciding to start reopening tomorrow, which is Georgia.
What do you think about that? Smart move? Dumb move? Does it matter?
I feel like it can backfire. It can backfire because there were some countries that started the lockdown earlier, and there were smaller countries, and they're still in lockdown. And I've heard multiple different stories. Like for example, Germany, they said that that this is just the beginning of the pandemic.
Wow, Germany's pretty pessimistic. Why do they say that?
Germans are, I feel like they know some things. I don't know. Angela Merkel, they
savants.
I don't know. By the way, how long has Angela Merkel been a chancellor of Germany?
Chancellor.
Yeah, chancellor. How long has she been? I feel like she's been there forever.
Dude, she's a beast, man. She's one of those women that, people don't care at the end of the day if you're a guy or a girl, and I genuinely believe this. They just want somebody strong. People want strong leaders. You can't get up there and be a weak pushover, and you can't be a complete dictator either. You gotta have a backbone. Merkel has a backbone. She's
German, yes. Germans are, different. They are just very precise, very.
Isn't that the coolest thing about just the differences in ethnicities? Like everybody knows German people, or at least the culture is highly analytical.
You think their ethnicity?
I mean, not necessarily ethnicity. Aryan race. Yeah. Ethnicity might not be the best word, but
No, I get what you're saying. They are just that nationality that's I mean, if you think about it, they recovered from some pretty heavy stuff. Like they are one of the leading nations today, and if you think about it, they were, they started the World War I with Austro-Hungary, and then they got beat, and Germany was in a very tough situation after that. They put, sanctions, and whatever happened after that. But they recovered, and then they started the World War II, And then after World War II, they were divided into two different countries, East Germany, West Germany, and they didn't really have a control over, over their own country. And right
Yeah.
now, there's, again, one of the strongest nations. Is that crazy?
I mean, it is nuts. It is nuts. It goes to show you would think the biggest weight that they would have had on their shoulders was the stigma of having one of the worst human beings that, I mean, I don't want to say worst because there's probably people who are like, oh, he's not the worst, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
The dude's Hitler. Everybody knows Hitler.
yeah,
And when you hear Hitler, you associate him with Germany and
yep,
Nazi Germany. And so you would imagine the stigma of that would have weighed heavier on their hearts. But you know what? I don't know, man. I think at the end of
yeah,
the day, people are sheep, right? So when one of your leaders is a complete dictator, megalomaniac,
yeah,
the normal person doesn't want to get involved. He's like, let me just make watches and shoes. Get out of my way.
yeah,
And then, you have this guy coming. He's like, look, we got to get rid of the Jews and we got to get rid of all these other people. And you're like, whatever, just let me make my watches, sure. You want Jews to get out? Okay, cool. And what's even crazier, dude, the Germans they shipped the Jews over to the U.S. I don't know if you know that.
yeah.
And then the U.S. is like, nah, we don't want them. And so they turned the Jews around, and they had to go back. And then when they went back,
Uh,
enter concentration camps.
yeah, I mean,
So
that whole time was crazy. But
it was weird.
do you think that I mean, Hitler was pretty bad. I mean, of course, that's an understatement. But do you think that Napoleon? I think that people like Napoleon comparing to,
Yeah,
if you think about, um, let's think about every one of their names as brands. Hitler is a pretty, it has certain how can I
equity.
say, yeah, equity. While Napoleon, you're not going to name a candy, you know, Hitler.
Hitler.
Like, can I get a Hitler? But
Yeah,
Napoleon, you do have, like you have
ice
candy, you
cream.
have ice cream, yeah. But Napoleon was
Yeah,
not much better than Hitler. He was also conquering, and he was also killing people and stuff. And
I
he
guess
was
the ice
some,
cream's called not. Sorry, I just want to correct myself. The ice cream was like It's not Napoleon. It's like Napolito or something weird. I don't think it's Napoleon, right?
Napolitan. It's
That's
from
the one.
Napoli, yeah. But
Yeah, I got
we
it
have a
wrong.
Napoleon cake, is what you were
There
talking
you go.
about. Yeah, but
No, Napoleon. Yeah, he's crazy.
yeah, I mean, he's just one of them. Like Genghis Khan, like you think Genghis
Genghis
Khan
Khan, dude.
was awesome. We eat sometimes at a restaurant called Genghis. That's
I remember that
but
place very well.
they were pretty. They were not good
Yeah.
to
Do you know who Pol Pot is?
who?
Pol Pot.
No.
Oh man, let me introduce you to an insane guy. Good old Pol Pot. He's one of those guys that has no equity, but he's up there with Stalin and Hitler, and nobody knows him. No one knows this guy. How's he riding under the radar? That's what I want to know. He was the Cambodian revolutionary and politician from 1975 to 1979. And let's figure out what his death toll was. It's outrageous. Pol Pot conducted a rule of terror that led to death nearly a quarter of Cambodia's 7 million people. 7
Uh,
million people. What's a quarter of a 7 million?
uh,
1.75 million people
uh,
he killed through execution, torture, starvation, and disease. How many
uh,
people did Hitler kill? Was it 6 million?
well,
Yeah, dude.
yeah,
1.32 million Jews were killed. Oh, I was in 3 months. The point is, dude, Pol Pot is one of those guys that not a lot of people are aware of, but he is just as insane.
terrible. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy. I mean, and I guess who else? But there are I don't know. There are some like good leaders. I guess what would make you a good leader? Like, what if you like? I don't know. killed a bunch of people, but you make, I don't know, you create a Eiffel Tower or something like during your reign. People build some kind of world wonder. Like, does that help your image? It's crazy because like they are literally building an image.
Yes, this is true. I don't know, because I'm certain there's probably people who have murdered millions of people. Well, you know what? Here, let me just show you a few other bad boys here. Dictator atrocities. I don't know if you can see this.
Not yet.
Not
I
yet.
I'm seeing Pol Pot.
There we go. How about that?
Oh, Mao Zedong.
Let's see. Mao Zedong, 78 million people. Joseph Stalin, Adolf Hitler, Leopold II of Belgium. I'm not really familiar with him. Hideki Tojo, Ismail Enver Pasha. There's Pol Pot. Kim Tu Sung. Millions of people, man.
Yeah.
Between these 10 people, you have hundreds of millions of people who have died. Which is nuts. Here's a cool little map. Forgot about this thing. Here's a little chart. Oh, you can't see it. All right, hold on. This is interesting. Can you see it now?
Yep.
So that gives you a little bit of perspective on how evil people are based upon the blood drop. One blood drop is 1 million people. Look how many people Mao Zedong has underneath them. He's going to have a warm place in hell, I'll tell you that. That is crazy.
Funny,
Yeah.
you know how you see people that came out of prison and they have like a teardrop. And
Yeah.
a blood drop is 1 million people. A teardrop is like 1 kill.
Wow, that's true. That's true. Work your way up to that blood drop, bro.
Yeah. Mao Zedong would be covered in blood drops.
Yeah.
Crazy.
But your question was evil dictators doing good things. There's got to be people, right? 10 things done by evil dictators. I found something. Let's check it out real quick, shall we?
Yeah.
Let's go exploring. And first thing we're going to do is not subscribe. All right, Hitler led one of the first anti-smoking campaigns.
That's pretty bad.
I would have never thought that. You would think somebody with a mustache like that would probably not,
Stop
do
smoking.
well with the nice mustache. Yeah. Let's see. Genghis Khan introduced laws and religious freedom. Wow. That's interesting, man.
Crazy.
Take a look at this picture, too. If that's any representation of what it must have been like during Genghis Khan's era, that was probably one badass time, man. That looks crazy.
What if he had to be, some of those people, man?
Dude. Well, during this era, do you think any rational conversation was being had?
Probably, because they were still like building stuff. Like, do you know that I think Genghis Khan's, I guess one of Genghis Khan's royal grandsons, and his name is I think
Earl?
it's a Kabul. Wait, my brain is not working right now. It's Kublai Khan.
Oh yeah, I remember that name.
Yeah, he built one of the most amazing cities at the time called Xanadu. Let me just find this stuff.
Look that up, and while you're looking that up, answer this question. Did you get a haircut?
Yeah.
I wondered, man. I was like, wait, why does his head look different?
Way
that
different.
is nuts. Yeah. How'd you get a haircut? Is that the wifey helping you out?
Yeah, she typically does. Like, unless I'm in Montenegro, I don't get haircuts here because I had
That's impressive, man.
Bad haircut, dude. I had one bad haircut here. I went to a salon, and like I hate spending money on haircuts because in Montenegro, a person that cuts my hair, and this is considered, she's amazing. Dude, first, she's amazing, super precise. She cut my hair since I was like 7, but she does an amazing job, and it's €3.
Yeah.
and you just give her five, and that's you don't need to give some huge tip. It's €2. That's how it is. For
Yep.
$5, you get an amazing haircut. But yeah, I'll show you the haircut that I got here once.
Yeah.
And I wanted to do something, to splurge, and that's when you are like, I felt like an idiot afterwards, because yeah,
Wow.
there you go, I splurged.
Well, tell
And
your wife that I said she did a good job, man. Looks like a good
thank you, man.
haircut.
No, she's amazing. She does a way better job than these people in this saloon did. For
So,
yeah, or whatever they're called, Saloon 46. Shout out to Saloon 46 or whatever their name is, or um. But yeah, for $50, I'll show you what I got. It was a disgrace. So you know how the northern part of Mediterranean Sea looks like.
I think so.
You just pull up the photo so that I can show people so they have some
Sure.
reference. Um, and all right, I'm gonna find it. I promise.
There you go.
Yeah. So you see all those how do you call those? Like,
Islands?
I mean, those peninsulas. Are they peninsulas?
Yeah, these little sticks that come out of from the islands
Yeah,
and
but
from
the
the
bigger ones, you have the one that's
like this is a
Spanish,
big peninsula.
Spanish. But I would say like Italy is one peninsula. Like the boot is one peninsula.
Technically, you're
Yeah, but
100% right.
they
Yeah.
have a name for it. It's Apenninian Peninsula, something like that. Um, I
Gotcha.
might not be. I mean, I learned that in school way back. And I learned it in a different language, so I might not be the best to comment on that. Gosh, I'm going through Google Photos and it's just a mess. But yeah, it's worth it. I promise. Because and this lady was working on my hair for a good 30 minutes because I told her like that doesn't work. Do you see what Do you see how my hair looks like? I could have done that.
Yeah.
So in college, a couple times I did my hair, myself. Um, and it was way better than this. You know, um, I also had my roommate did my hair too. A couple
That's
of times.
hilarious.
Okay, here we go. Check this. So check the bottom of my hair.
Yeah. All right, hold on. Let's. Oh wow.
Dude,
But
it's like
is it
peninsula.
notches?
Like,
Yeah.
dude, she like shaved some parts, and like there's like, I mean,
Ugh.
it should be like even, and it's just, and you can't really see it from there, but it's like, yeah, it was
Yeah.
not good. It's typically like all the same, like right now, but yeah, no.
Well, dude, if you can have your wife do it for free, that's the way to do it.
Oh yeah, oh yeah, and whatever that money just put it for Ellie's whatever college or fund. So yeah,
I'm growing mine out, man. I'm
yeah,
shaving. I'm leaving the beard shaved, and I'm gonna grow my hair out to my shoulders.
dude,
I'm
you can do
reversing
that.
it.
You have a good hair. You have a good
I'm gonna.
hair.
I've never done it. I want to see what it's gonna look like.
Yeah, you'll be like
You know what? I like the fact
Chris
that I can
D'Elia,
feel my
or
face.
probably not. You're gonna be like what's his name? You're gonna be like
Gandalf.
no. You'll be like Bradley Cooper or something. You're gonna
Maybe,
go
maybe
that
not as good
style.
looking, but that's.
He's
I just
got
want
that
to see what it
style
looks
though.
like.
Yeah,
I
you
just
can
want to see
totally
what
do
it'd be
it.
crazy.
Or like my brothers.
Oh, dude, your bro's got gray hair too, man. They
All
got
right,
really good.
let me show you something. Xanadu.
Show us.
I think that you're going to be fascinated by this. So Kublai Khan built. It's called Vision in a Dream. Um,
Vision in a dream.
and it's actually a poem that someone wrote, but oh, actually, so Xanadu, um, so site of Xanadu, which was north of the Great Wall, um, so they just have the remains of it right now. But it was supposed to be a city that, because you know how all of these Mongolians went all over the world, and they
Yes.
conquered some of the biggest cities, and went through different lands and stuff and saw different things. And they wanted to basically capture all of the beauty that they saw into that one city and create that one
Mm-hmm.
city that encapsulated um, all of the beauty, all the best things that they've seen in the world, the best buildings, the most beautiful buildings, and just put it in that one city. And
Yeah.
Kublai Khan, he had that vision, and I guess he didn't survive until today. I was hoping there would be at least some remains, but there's it's like very but you need to take a look at this. I'm
Yeah.
I'm
Do you have
share,
pictures?
I'm sharing this. Check out this.
I'm waiting for it.
This is crazy. Look at these statues. Nothing. Nothing. Like these statues. Like that's like carved into the mountain. It's like a what's
Dude,
the name of
it's a sculpture, but the fact that they had the technology to do this, because they're not the only ethnicity or race or group of people who carved into rock like this, and it seemed like it must have been a popular thing back then. This is gorgeous.
Let me
It has
show
to
you
be a
this.
modern day phenomenon. Now that's ridiculous.
This is ridiculous. But there was one statue. So this is the biggest statue in the world. There was one statue that was this statue. Check this out. This warrior. It's
Is
crazy.
that the one in South Africa? No, it's not. That's a Viking one. That one's
I think this is
badass,
actually
dude.
in China. I'm not even sure, but this is
God,
massive.
that looks like the coolest video game. That looks like
Yeah, World of
Dungeon
Warcraft
Siege.
or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, wait, go back. All right, go down real quick. I want to show you the one that All right, that him and his wife and his baby in his hand is in South Africa. I think it's Africa. No, Senegal. Click on that one. That one's badass, dude. Some guy in Spain or Italy actually
Uh,
came up with the design of this one. But how cool is that?
so did you know that Charlotte has the biggest statue of a standing lion?
No, I had no idea. And
Dude,
what is this one over here too, real quick?
which one?
If that one.
This one is
Uh,
this one is of one Indian leader, and it's the
uh,
biggest statue in the world right now. It's like 182 meters high.
I
This is
love
insane.
how this is amazing, man.
He's just some random
Wow.
dude. Like you
I
said.
know, that's what's hilarious. Like the way he's standing in his clothes, it's just like he's just some dude.
There's like no sword, no,
Nothing about him is in
yeah,
any way
he's not
glorious.
on a horse or anything like that. Or no, I think that's him. He's still alive too. It's just,
Modi.
no.
Oh, Modi. That's Modi, man. So that statue's Modi?
I guess I don't know.
Modi's the current prime minister, I believe, is the title he has. But that's so much like India, dude. Because India is one of those countries, and the culture, like the people are quiet and meek, but they're awesome, dude. They're like one of the most fascinating cultures, in my opinion.
Well, yeah,
I
they are.
mean, there so many of them are physicians and doctors and all of these scientific and programming backgrounds, and none of them are really kind of.
Yeah,
It's just a culture that's so interesting because it's so counter to what the U.S. is all about. The U.S. is about loud and look at me and let me brag about myself, and in the Indian culture, you
good.
don't really. Maybe it's because of social media, maybe it's because of the culture. But name me. Actually, you know what? There is one Indian YouTuber that I really like who talks about finance. I don't
Yeah.
remember what his name. No, but he's not Indian. He's not. He's a Sikh, which is like kind of a different part of like India. Do you know who the Sikh are?
Yeah, yeah.
They go
They
by
are.
Sikh. They go by Sikh too. They're honestly, dude. If I wasn't Christian and I had to
You'll be a
pick,
Sikh.
I would be a Sikh in a heartbeat, dude. These
Yeah.
dudes are awesome. Yeah, it's a cool group of people, and for people who don't know what I'm talking about, because a lot of people get them confused from Muslims. They're like, "Hey, Muslim, get out of here!" And they have what? They're not Muslims. They're Sikhs. This is a Sikh. You've probably seen them before. They have the turbans.
Yeah.
Awesome dude. One of the most brilliant guys I've ever met in my life. A pain specialist physician in Miami, Florida. Young, maybe 26, 27, PhD.
Yeah.
articulate genius was a Sikh, and just a genuinely good guy.
Yeah.
But it's a religion. It's the fourth largest religion in India, contributing to 1.75% of the population. It's existed for 550 years, and they were actually the warrior. I think they're the warrior people. Like they have like their symbol is like a sword and a sickle, if I remember correctly.
Hmm.
Definitely an interesting group. Um, I wish they showed you a geography, but oh, here you go. Boom. So this is where you can see right away. Here's India, biggest frick, right? You got Sri Lanka down here.
Yep.
You got
There.
Nepal up here. Sikhs are boom, and they're just right there. That's it. So and they're closer to the Middle East, than the rest of India, which is probably why they get mixed up with Muslims because of the turbans and stuff. Uh, oh yeah. By the way, this is the haircut I used to rock, and then this is what I'm going for now. And then when I'm older, this is what I'm gonna go for.
Nice.
There you go. There you
Nice, man.
go. All right. A little randomness there.
Cool. Yeah. No, this is interesting. So I think that um, one interesting thing, if you think about all these, if you think about people who are immigrants and they come in like this country, they like build businesses and things, and but like I guess the next generation of those people, or the couple generations after that, they get how do you say, like Americanized or
Yeah.
whatever.
Did you
I
watch the
feel
Jordan Peterson movie recently? Because he talks
no.
about this.
I mean, I've seen so much Jordan Peterson. I'm not sure if I saw that, but I read his book and all that. But
He
this
says
is
3 generations in, immigrants pretty much get predominantly Americanized, aka
yeah.
lazy.
Well, it's I mean, it's interesting. So I think that it doesn't have to be. You don't have to be necessarily American, or non-American to because I this is what I see that happens. If what if you like grow up poor? You're not going if you don't grow up like too privileged and stuff like that. You are going to look at the world through a different lens, and like I feel like so what I hear a lot from those people that were poor, either poor or they're immigrants. They say, I'm going to do this so that my children don't have to do it later.
That's a
That they
big one.
expect from their children to finish schools and do all this stuff. But maybe I mean things that they do, like they make money because they build businesses, they risk stuff, they do everything they can. You know, um, you could probably make more money. If you have you can have a I don't know. I feel like there are some companies that just do landscaping and they make more money than MBA graduates like today,
Yeah,
and
I met one of those guys.
they don't have like any debt like school loans and stuff like that. So that's one thing that's I mean that's one interesting thing that I saw.
We, my wife likes to shop every once in a while on Facebook, and she also likes to sell some things on Facebook. And we sold some of the items that we had, and the guy who met us was a Latin guy. I can't remember if he was from Mexico or South America or Central America, somewhere south. But this dude had a gorgeous truck, dude. Gorgeous truck, single, had a girlfriend. Actually, no, he was married. He was married. Beautiful truck, but you could tell just looking at him, like, man, this guy does really well for himself. Because a truck like that, I mean, it was probably 2016, 2017. Huge truck, decked out with beautiful wheels on it. I mean, it's easily a $50,000 truck.
Yeah.
So whatever a payment on a $50,000 truck, what is that? $500 a month, $600 a month, unless. And here's another thing too, right? Some immigrants who come from Mexico, certain parts of Mexico, if you haven't been to really poorer parts of Mexico, and that's kind of a cool. I've never really thought about it that much until now, but there's a village in Mexico that when I first met my wife in Playa del Carmen, which is an hour south of Cancun, and I rented a Harley and I drove up and down the Riviera Maya, all the way from Cancun to Tulum and close to Belize. But there is a village when you leave kind of the touristy parts, right? Cancun and Playa, when you leave those parts, things get real sketchy really, really quick. And there was a small little village called Chemu Hill. And let me see if I can find it. And Chemu Hill uh, is probably what I would imagine a lot of Mexico is, because it's not no electricity. It's shocking, and dude, it's just a blip. Let me show you. All right. And you're driving through it and you think to yourself, all right, so just to give everybody an idea of where we are, right? Here we are. And you dive in here. Here's Playa del Carmen. Go up an hour. There's Cancun. And so I started driving down, and on my way down towards Tulum, there's this little bitty city, little town called Chemu Hill. Let me see if I can take this dude and drop him. Oh my God, you can. And I drove my motorcycle through Chemu Hill. And this is what normal Mexico looks like. So if you come from here, right? No air conditioning, no washer dryer, people hanging their clothes up. People got hammocks just chilling. Dude, this is like a totally different world. Everything's built with cinder blocks. See that?
Well, that's how it is in my country.
Yeah.
It's the same thing.
Well, dude, if you come from here and you get to America and you see how privileged and blessed America is, it's no wonder these people work as hard as they do, because they're like, hey, man, I was working hard in Mexico and this was the life I had. If I can work this hard in the US, I'm gonna destroy. I'm gonna kick ass. And it's humbling, man. Yeah, this is the road I came in on. So that's Chemu Hill. But to your point, man, when immigrants come to this country and they get Americanized, they get used to how easy it is to do okay.
I think that's and one thing that I'll do, like and I'm working towards creating some wealth, trying to create multiple different ways, income streams and stuff like that. Of course, it requires work, and it's going okay so far. But like if I create wealth, um, I'm not going to give my children. At least right now I'm thinking like probably not gonna give anything to my children or leave them anything. They can, they have to work hard themselves, and like they
Yeah.
have to get themselves into those situations, awkward situations, hard situations, situations where your back is against the wall and you need to you need to figure things out. You need to be resourceful. You need to um, of course I'm going to help them, but I'm not going to give them an easy solution of here you go, you can just have this money and do whatever you want with it.
Now, why is that? Break down your logic, your thoughts behind that.
So I, I the main reason is I want them to first have a um I don't want them to I want them to have respect for money. Like I like you don't need much to have a very good and fun life. One thing that I
That's a
noticed
great
here,
point.
um, and you know what, I tend to like, I would fall sometimes, and into the lifestyle. So here, like, and probably people are realizing this a lot over the weekend. you know, you have to go out to, or you have to go out and spend money somehow, because that's what everyone else is doing. You have to go to a restaurant, you have to do this, you have to do that. I'm fine, staying at home, working around in the yard, not going out at all. But it's just like, okay, what are we gonna do this weekend? you know, and then you have to go out somewhere. You have to have a brunch or whatever, or you have to buy these things, or you have to, I feel like, or let's go shopping, or it's something that I've noticed a lot here, and of course it's probably a big part of the economy because nothing would work if it didn't work that way.
It's a true point.
But
Yeah.
then you buy all these things, and people have a problem with hoarding, which it's funny,
In
man, that
what
there are
sense? Like
storages.
they think
I
it's
mean, there
silly?
are, so how many um like how many square feet of storage units are there in the United States?
Oh, now that's a good point, dude.
Like,
People
I
buy
mean, just
so many
think about it.
things and they don't have the space for it in their
But
house.
then just think of, we have way more. Like, for example, we have at least 2 or 3 board games that we haven't even opened.
Yeah.
Like, we get stuff for Christmas and stuff. We haven't even opened it. For you to have fun over the weekend, if you just open one of those board games
Boom.
and just play it once, or I mean, I can play it. I know people in Montenegro that live there. They're my neighbors, and there's that Sorry game. I'm not sure if you know. It's called Sorry. You guys call it Sorry.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yeah, we call it Man, Don't Be Mad. Literally, it's so funny. But yeah, but they would play that game every day, like whole day. And it was so funny. Like, I would go to my neighbors and I'm gonna go for, and they would just play that game, and that was it. But it was fun. It was different every time. They would have a conversation. They would have more fun than someone who, oh, what am I gonna do this weekend? I need to go out. I need to do this. I need to buy that. I need to spend money somehow. You can go to a
Yeah.
park. You can fix something that you needed to fix. You can, learn something. You can go for a walk. Do all
That's
these
the
things.
thing I love about you, man. Is you that mentality, and your wife is the same way. You guys, there's a there's an art to living that way, and America's gotten so used to just it's gotten so used to surplus and having a lot of things where it's like, to your point, it's like you don't need a lot. At the end of the day,
Yeah,
all you need, if you want to go out to brunch, have brunch at home.
yeah.
Have family come over and celebrate here
I mean,
with 13 cents eggs,
of
and
course, it's okay. Like, to say, like, Ben, let's go out somewhere.
yeah.
It's let's do that. Like, let's have a Connor fight. I'm not sure what's happening with my camera.
Ooh, cool.
I don't know. Okay, yeah, that blur. But let's
Fancy.
say, Ben, let's go see a UFC fight. Let's go to a bar or whatever. Like, dude, that's fine. Like, we're having fun. We're doing something. I'm not saying like you should never go out, or no. Like, there are exceptions to the rule, but you know, I mean, and you know what? Everyone thinks differently, but Kayla and I can make a dinner at home faster than, and better, because we'll use all organic stuff and all that stuff. I'm not trying to say that there shouldn't be restaurants, or I'm not trying to be insensitive to people who work at restaurants, like servers and stuff, who this is their livelihood. But for me, it's just not worth it, just going for a meal to a restaurant, unless it's like a special date or something, which makes it
Yeah.
even more special, when you go for that date. Um, but yeah, in the past 6 months, my wife and I don't think we went out. Even before this, like, I don't remember going. I did go out with you for that UFC fight.
But it's once every like blue moon.
Yeah, but I feel like, I don't know. It's one of those things. I don't know.
No, I don't
But
think. No, you do know, man. You do know. Don't double guess yourself. What you're doing is you're living. It's called minimalism or essentialism. You only
oh,
need.
I
You
wish
only
I
need
was
so
minimalist.
much.
Yeah. Uh,
You know.
if you see minimalists, they even dumb it down to even like smaller. I have
But I
still a
think
ton of stuff that I don't need.
I think that type of lifestyle or progressing towards a lifestyle where you don't allow the things that you own to have ownership over your happiness in life. Like
Exactly.
if the things that you
Yeah.
have own
Yeah.
you and you don't own
You
them,
put it right.
you need to flip the script. You need to realize, hey man, can you go to the woods and just chill out and have a good time and enjoy
Yeah.
the awesomeness of the woods? That's an art, and it's also, you know, one of the things, you know, in a previous life of mine, I have a philosophy, right? And one of those philosophy, it's not like specifically mine, but it's something that I had heard someone say once, and I really thought it was probably the wisest thing that I had heard at that point, and that is some everybody has something to teach you, right?
Yep.
Everybody has something that they've learned that you haven't learned, or a point of view that you haven't heard yet, or an idea that you haven't considered. And if you just are humble and listen, you just might get to hear what they say. And when you do, it could completely change how you look at everything, right? And so I dated a girl in my past life, and her family was a lot more artistic than any of the other families I've ever dated, or any of the families I ever met. And her and her family would look at things and listen to things completely different, right? And I could tell you things from all my previous relationships and all my friends where I can pull out and be like, you know what? This is the lesson this person was trying to teach me. But this family in particular that I'm talking about now, um, because they would use what I call like the artist's eye, right? They're always looking at things from an artistic point of view, which when you do that, it brings you to the present because you're looking at everything like as if it's brand new. Like if you're listening to the podcast right now, stop, look at something in your house and look at it as if you'd never seen it before. And when you do that, what it does is it centers you. It brings you into the current moment. And so I learned the value of that. And then on top of that, what I learned as well was that things that I might have overlooked previously, if I would have just take a couple seconds and really appreciate what I was looking at, it was either art already completed or it was art in the making. And I think that's, that paradigm for me really opened up a kind of a window in my mind where I was like, okay, so there's different ways to look at the world and
Yeah.
still have a good life. And what you're doing, what you and your wife are doing, is you are looking at a world slightly different than what the American story, American narrative is wanting you to do. The American narrative is go out, eat all the time, buy everything, shop when you want. You've looked at that narrative and you said that narrative has no purpose or meaning or value in my life. What matters more to me is spending time with my family and my wife in the kitchen, cooking with my hands, using the resources at my disposal, the creativity God's given me, and coming up with something on the spot. I think that is much more valuable and more worthwhile and of higher quality, both from a relationship standpoint and just a skill standpoint too. Because you make some kick-ass bread, dude. And you didn't learn how to make that kick-ass bread by going out to a restaurant.
Oh, I failed so many times, dude. I failed
Hey,
so many
speaking
times.
of, speaking of, do you have yeast packets?
No, I bought. So I typically, so I have my own uh, sourdough starter.
Okay,
Um, but I also have these yeast. Like it's the same stuff as those packets, but it's
packets,
like, but it's in
a
those
jar.
bigger jars. Yeah.
Okay, all right. But do you refrigerate it or freeze it?
If I open it, I refrigerate it.
Okay, so I need to buy one. I was looking at some yeast. I saw some bread, which maybe I'll show you this bread that I saw because
Yeah.
I want to make it, and it looks amazing. I was like, I wonder if Darko's made this bread, but dude, it looks so good.
I made some
But
pretzels the other day.
did you?
It
How'd they
takes
turn
two
out?
hours. Yeah, turn out pretty good. Yeah. I made some. I made some with like a kosher, like salt. and I made some with like sprinkled with kosher salt. I mean, I made some with sprinkled with cinnamon sugar. So it was pretty
Ooh,
good. Yeah.
very nice.
Um.
Let me see if I can
Yeah.
find this bread. This bread recipe. Is this it? Let's see. Uh, it's so it's so good. It's like it calls for yeast. And I went online. I started looking up some yeast, and dude, I don't know if you know this, man. Everybody's bought yeast, and so all the packets, which is typically what you'd want if you don't want to have a big jar and refrigerate it. All
Yeah.
the packets are like $20, and they
Are you
typically
serious?
cost like, yeah, and
Dude,
they're
just make
typically
some
like two
sourdough.
dollars.
Just make some
Oh,
sourdough.
sourdough's easy. Sourdough's easy, and I've made sourdough in the past, but
Yeah.
uh,
It
yeah,
sucks. I mean, sourdough
it's
sucks
hard.
because do you have that standing mixer?
I do.
Yeah, well, that helps with sourdough because sourdough
Ah,
it sticks. You know, it sticks, so you can't really use your hands. Like if you go with your
exactly.
hands, it sticks to your hands. But if
Yeah.
you use that mixer, like that stuff can, you'll be fine. And then just put
If
it
you
in a
put,
bowl in with oil so it doesn't stick to the sides. Let it, rise. So if you the best way to, and especially if you're making pizza dough, the best way to let the dough rise is in the fridge. Um, like if to like how do you call it? Gosh, to proof. If you proof it overnight in a fridge, or if you proof it for 3 days, up to 3 days in a fridge, you're gonna have an amazing dough. You know how that good pizza like puffs up like a lot, like on the side.
yes.
Like instead of you have that other pizza that's like thin, that has thin crust, but this stuff like puffs up and it has those like huge bubbles, of air in there. That's what happens um if you put dough in the fridge.
Yeah, and it's interesting because the there's kind of a counterintuitive thing about sourdough too. Like you're thinking like, all this dough is sticking to my hand, and your initial reaction is like, let me put some more water in it to
Oh
see if that helps. That's the exact
no.
opposite
Opposite, yeah.
of
It's
what
gonna
you
make
want
it
to do. What
more
you
wet. Yeah.
exactly, and what you want to do to kind of get it from not sticking is
Yeah.
put more flour into it
Yeah.
and that'll actually help.
Yeah, that
Um,
helps definitely, but you don't want to put too much flour into it because then it's gonna be too dense.
exactly,
Um,
and that's what happened when I made it.
yeah, well, it sucks because like it sticks to your hands and you have to push through that part because eventually, it forms, some of those gluten connections, and they become stronger, so it doesn't stick as much. I mean, it's still gonna stick, but yeah, your hands are gonna be messed if you try to do it.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, but you brought up one good point. So there is another division, possible division that you can have last if you want to put people on two sides. Um, um, you can have romantical thinkers and classical thinkers.
Now that's a good
Um,
point.
I read
My
about
wife and I
that,
were talking about romance tonight, but go on, finish your thought.
but this is in a different way. This is
Yeah,
more
of course, not like
so.
sexually.
This is this is putting you like this is literally how you put people in two groups like thinkers and you put people in thinkers and goal-oriented people. You can put everyone. I feel like you can divide everyone in classical and romantic thinker. And I read this
That's
somewhere. And I read
that's a really good point.
but the way that so let's say I like to consider myself a classical thinker for most of the things because I look at how things work. Um, like for example, my lawnmower broke down.
Oh,
My
bummer.
first step was not to to say, okay, I'm gonna stop this. I'm going to just call whoever or fix this, or I'm gonna buy a new lawnmower. Um, it what I had to do. Lawnmower was just a little bit, it was getting old, and like there were some parts that were just falling apart. It wasn't the best quality. But what I did, I'm thinking like, how does this engine work? You know, so I broke it down, spent a couple hours and fixed it. Um, but you like I think it's a way that you look at that lawnmower. Like some people are going to look at that lawnmower like, it's this thing that I take and it just, and that's a romantical thinking. Like, and I go with it over, over, grass, and like it has its own soul, it has its own, like that's a romantical thinking. You personalize that lawnmower.
Yes.
Well, I think about it as just a big, you know, you know, I think about it as just a bunch of parts put together so that you can help me cut the grass. And these
Yes.
parts are working, are put specifically together so they work and help me cut the cut the grass. Essentially like it's and you can think that way about many things. And I feel like people who are more of romantical thinkers, they don't really even though like they appreciate things in a different way, they don't appreciate things as much, and they don't really get in depth about things. So for example, people who he knows, like if he's buying a TV, he's going to do research before that. He's going to really get into it, dive deep, and then he's going to once he buys it, he's going to look into all the features and everything that he has. He's really going to get everything that he can out of it and really understand, how it works. Or you have a person that just goes to the store and just buys, oh, that TV looks good. I want a big TV. I doesn't even know what HDMI means, what 4K means, or any of those terms, that are essential if
Yeah.
you're buying. Um, and just I'll have this one, and let's have someone install it for me, or I'll try to install it, and looks up a couple YouTube videos that for installing TVs. Like it's a very banal thing, but I feel like I don't know. I feel like you have two different types of people if you think about that way. Like you have people that are more scientifically more detail oriented, while you have other people who are. I'm not saying they're not detail oriented. I'm saying they're more romantical thinkers. Like if you think about it, if they think about their car, for example, they say this car has soul. It's resting right now. It's they have more of that poetic mind,
Yeah.
while you have I don't know. What are your thoughts?
No, that's a good point. I agree and disagree, and
Yeah.
I'll say why. I agree with the fact that there are people who, especially in this country, I believe, and that might, now that I'm saying it out loud, there might be other countries too, but there's a few of them. The romantics in this country, right? And what's funny is there was an era of like art and literature called romanticism,
Yep.
and I think some of that still lives today. And my wife and I were talking about how her family and my family are exact opposites, right? Her family is practical. My family, we romanticize everything, everything. And to give you an example of how romantic we are, and I think a lot of this is natural. It's like nature.
Hmm.
And I'm curious. I want to ask you this question. I'm curious to figure out how you propose to your wife, because I don't know that story. But before we go there, one of my very first girlfriend, or wasn't even my girlfriend, my very first crush. I was in 4th grade, right? And I was like, I want to impress this girl. I want to do something nice. So
Hmm.
I got her a comb with her name on it. And I walked over and gave her the comb, right? Like, highly romantic gesture for a 4th grader. And then when I was in like 8th grade, I had my first serious girlfriend. And, I wanted to give her a teddy bear. And my mom was like, yeah, that sounds great. So my mom drove me 45 minutes to this girl, her house, and we dropped a teddy bear off in her car so that when she woke up, she'd come out to the teddy bear. Dude, super stupid, super dumb, super romantic. But
I don't think
that
that's stupid. I
It might not be dumb, but it's definitely on a
I don't
romantic
think it
side.
ties into a I don't think it ties into my definition of a romantic thinker. But go on.
Yeah. So in a romantic sense, they sensationalize and build up ideas and thoughts in their head to where they become emphatic with those items,
Hmm.
right? So somebody who sees a lawnmower might romanticize this lawnmower as something more than just parts and metal and gears and gasoline and oil. It becomes this weekly cathartic exercise, and this lawnmower is an instrument between them and a more peaceful, thought-provoking life. And they can't wait every Saturday to hop behind the lawnmower and get it started and smell the grass and hear the lawnmower start up and smell the gasoline, and to do it and to mow and to think. And it becomes this giant romantic idea in their mind. Whereas I feel like a more practical person is like, hey, I just got to cut the lawn, and this is a
Yeah.
piece of metal, and they don't romanticize anything. That's kind of what I thought you were
Well,
speaking about. Is that
so
is that a little bit different?
let me add a little bit to it. So let me
All right, go
add a
for it.
little bit to it. So a classical understanding, like
Yep.
thinking, it sees the world primarily as an underlying form of itself. So under that lawnmower, what's happening? While the romantic understanding sees it primarily in terms of kind of the immediate appearance. So look how pretty that a lawnmower is. I'm gonna buy it because it looks so nice and pretty. Um, that's what I was thinking, and I feel like I read that in that book. I read about it in that book. What's the name of that book? It's by that guy Piercy. Um, it's Zen and Art of Motorcycle Maintenance, and he was
Ah,
talking.
yes.
Yeah, he was. It's a very dense and deep book. If you will like it because you're a thinker.
Yeah.
And if you like philosophy and yeah, that book is gonna um be awesome for you. Like I would literally read half a page and I would just have to like lay down.
It was just too
What
dense.
just happened?
Yeah.
It took me forever to read that book, but it was just a dense book. But
Yeah.
um, yeah, but yeah, that's kind of what I'm thinking, and
Gotcha.
yeah, just I guess romanticism just uses that kind of it's I guess classicism is more rigid and strict.
Yes.
Yep, and it uses more of a logic. But I don't think that ties necessarily in the you being romantic. I think that you were so I think that to me love is not just it's not necessarily just a feeling. Of course it's a feeling, but it's also a verb. You can't. That's why I don't understand people who say, "Oh, I'm not in love with you know my husband anymore. I'm not in love with my wife anymore." Because you just need to love that person, and then you'll be in love. It's so simple. And
That's such a deep thought, man. That's so good.
because all you have to, in order to be in love, you have to do things that are it's a verb. Like I for example, like, so I read a lot of Russian classics because not voluntarily. It was a torture. My high school was a torture.
Yeah.
Um, and yeah, all of the Dostoevsky's, you know,
I mean, yeah, he's
Karamazov
famous.
brothers. Yeah, I mean, dude, it's just it's a bit boring for me, but I can write amazing love letters. Um,
That's right.
so yeah, dude, War and Peace and all that stuff. Like it's Anna Karenina, all of that stuff. It's nice, but if so, there is a difference between classical and romantic. Dude, if you dive into those things, there's so much stuff that to me honestly it doesn't matter, and I didn't care about it, especially, dude, we grew up in a times where you had video games and all that stuff, and I'm supposed to go through two books. So it's not one book, it's a book made out of two books. And
Damn.
War and Peace was made out of 4 different. They call it toms here. I don't know. I'm not sure how you guys call it
Yeah,
there. But
tomes.
yeah, 4 different toms. And it just sucked. Reading about Pierre and I don't care about that stuff. But yep, there you go. I can see that.
Just
Yeah, and that's
just summing it up for you there.
yep.
But it goes
So
back to bonobos and chimpanzees, I feel like. Chimpanzees are classical in thought, bonobos are romantic.
I mean, dude, I don't know that much about these monkeys, but you can we can put a lot towards those. But
Yeah, no, I mean, that's true. That's true.
yeah,
But I think what we both were getting at here was that the romantic piece of it is definitely more grounded in emotion
yeah,
and
definitely. While the
subjectivity.
other one is looking for logic, some kind of logic behind everything.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. That's dude, I love personalities. And what you said the other day too, as far as like, you can't really it's our nature to want to categorize things
yeah.
for
You
the
want to
for the
generalize, just like
we want to generalize and categorize because it helps
yeah,
us understand and it makes it
yep,
easier for us. But at the end of the day, there's just too many nuances with humans. You just can't put us in a bucket. You can put us in
hard
some
man.
buckets, but you're not going to put us in one bucket or the other. We're going to be in at least 10 buckets because we're so unique. And
Everyone is so unique and unpredictable, like in many ways. Like you don't know. Like I could never, I would have never thought that you would grow out your hair, and
I
I would
didn't either.
never thought that you would be without beard. So
I know.
it's crazy, like how much we don't know, but it's crazy, I guess, how we get affected by
Yeah.
things, by thoughts, by feelings, and that's another point that I've been like going over recently, like how it's funny how like in order for your thoughts or feelings to change, sometimes something big has to happen. Like in order for your brain to rewire. Like if you think about it, like that's thing that I'm trying to think about, and I've been thinking about more. But it goes back to that example, which is it's becoming a classic example. When uh a kid is under a car and a mom lifts the car.
Oh yeah.
And they say it's adrenaline, but what happens in that moment? That rewires that mom's brain. It's something um huge. Something huge that's happening in that mom's life. Her kid is under a car,
Yeah.
and she's forced, to rewire her brain, and it it's like an immediate like learning, like you know that we learn better if our learning is connected to something big. Like for example, people remember where they were when 9/11 happened,
You
but
know what? It's
I
interesting.
don't
It's a
I
good
don't
memory
remember where I
technique
was,
too.
right? Like I don't remember where I was last. I mean, yes, I do because we're quarantined, but uh, I honestly don't remember what was the last place that I went to before the quarantine. I don't know. I don't think about that stuff. But if you
And
think
that's fine
about
though, because to stop on that, that is a pretty good. I think it's called mnemonic, like a mnemonic trick. Like if you want to remember something, you you picture yourself. Yeah, no, a mnemonic is a device such as a pattern, idea, or association that assists in remembering something. So this is called a mnemonic trick. So if you want to remember something, you're like, God, I hope I remember this next week. What you do is you picture something horrible or big or just enormous happening while you're doing whatever you're doing, and you're more likely to remember it, i.e., 9/11.
yeah, no, yeah, and no, it's I don't know. I feel like that's one complex thing that has to be thought out. I feel like because if you can unlock that type of stuff, like in your personal mind, like if you can get the power that that mom has
Mm.
when she's lifting that child, that car, um, what happened? Like it can't be just adrenaline, you know. Like you can get an adrenaline shot. You're not going to lift the car. I feel like are you going to lift the car if you get an adrenaline shot? Um, I can't lift the car. I don't know about you. You can't lift the
No,
car.
no, I'm not lifting cars, man. But it makes you wonder, dude, how much of our perception of what we can do is based upon what we see and what we believe, right?
Yeah.
Like I feel
So
like a
that's another
lot of
question for you. Do we have a filter? Because of our brain says really, not our eyes. We see with our brain. If you think about it, our eyes are just kind of a tool.
filter. Yeah.
But yeah, filter. But what if we don't see many things because our brain is just choosing not to register them? What if this world is just like, what if our awareness is affected by our past thoughts, and we can't see things for what they are because of our past thoughts? And if, I guess, that's an interesting thing. Like, that mom would look at that same car moments, like, an hour before her kid goes under that car. She wouldn't be able to live that car ever.
Mm-hmm.
But in that moment, her brain rewires completely, and she just goes. It's crazy to me. It's something that's, of course, is not explained, and we can talk about this, but it's an interesting thing. Like, what if you can harness the power? That's
Yeah.
almost a superhuman power. Um,
Well, sometimes we use the words, we use them correctly and incorrectly, I think, but
yeah,
it rewires our brain. People say
yeah,
that just off the cuff
yeah,
as if it's something that actually happens. And it's like, no, I mean, we don't have any idea. We that's kind
yeah,
of a shorthanded attempt to us to describe what goes on. But I wonder how much of it in that moment, what normally happens before we do anything is, you know, a frame of doubt comes into our mind before we act, right? You want to be a comedian and doubt first. Now you have
yeah,
to think about that idea, but now let's consider doubt and then the idea. When your kid's under a car, you ain't got time to think about doubt. All you're thinking about is, I got to lift this car. So maybe in that moment of desperation, when you have 0 seconds to think about what's going on, that means you can't stop to ponder that doubt that's telling you that you can't. And so, since you don't think that you can't and you're not considering the doubt, you just go straight into what needs to be done, which is lifting that car off your kid, plus, that and a little bit of adrenaline, and then boom. So how much of what we could do we not do? Because the first thing that we do is consider the doubt that enters into our mind after that idea.
yeah.
What
So
are
you
your
think
thoughts?
that the doubt is what stands behind, between me and you? But like for example, let's say you want to, I don't know. Let's say you, I mean, and this is let's say you want to become, I don't know, a CEO of your own company.
Yep.
Which would
How
be
you
a
know?
miracle, just like it's a miracle to lift up the car. Let's
Yep.
say, and we are talking hypothetically. Um, and you know, all of a sudden you get the same, was like there's something that happens that's in the same, magnitude as the your kid being under a car,
Yep.
and you just have to become a CEO, and you go ahead and you do it. I, I just want to see, like, what is that, and can that be unlocked without having, something traumatic happen, or you know um, or having something, I guess, what kind of state of mind? Like, rewiring the brain, maybe it's not a word, maybe getting to the state of mind is not the right word, but whatever it is, like, what is it that, turns people into these, and you know what, maybe this is something that probably, it goes into our discussion about, immigrants coming from, a tough place into, into America, and just hustling and stuff.
Yeah.
Maybe that's a form of that, because they have to hustle. Because they not have to hustle. Well, I mean, they have to hustle, if especially when you start, but not that, Americans, of course, are hustling. You have a lot of
I
people that
think
are
it's
working
comfort,
really
man.
hard. So you think it's the comfort that kind of? I'm just trying to connect all of this.
Well, I'm going to full circle this for us because what you talked about earlier was kind of withholding things from kids so that they don't get handicapped. And I think that's exactly what happens to us. Now, you take that story of the immigrant who comes here, and he comes from somewhere really rough, right? No
Yeah.
AC, no washer dryer, old school, like. So imagine it. You end up in America, and you previously lived in a life where you were in that type of environment, and then you come to America. You're like, hey, I can do what I want because if I fail, I go right back to what I've been doing my entire life. You know what? It's not going to kill me. I've lived in that shithole for 20 years of my life, and now I'm in America. I'm going to try it because in your head, if you fail, you're not going to die. You're not going to have a worse life because you came from it, right? Now, somebody who grows up in America, they get comfortable. They get used to the pleasures and the ability to have what they want. They're not used to not, you know, going down the stairs and washing their clothes and, you know, having the AC on. And so they don't want to lose that. So they have something to kind of lose. And in their head, they're like, well, if I don't survive, if this doesn't work out for me, then their starting point is here. Whereas, like, okay, this is a great example, right? So if the immigrants, assumingly, right, the immigrant comes from somewhere third world country or less, right, or second world or third world, they come to America, it's a little bit better. And if they fail, they kind of go down, but they not necessarily go back to where they started. If you live in America and you try something and fail, you have an opportunity to actually go a little bit lower than where you started. And so that kind of keeps you from going forward with an idea. But again, I think it's that, and then also has to do with desperation, right? I think in a moment of desperation, you don't have time to think this isn't going to work out because it has to work out. It has
Yep.
to, right? Like
Yeah.
this has to work out. I've got to lift this car. If I don't lift
Yep.
this car, everything I've ever worked for, this little daughter, little boy is not going to survive. And
Yep.
so in that moment, you find a way deep inside you to do what needs to be done. And if you're desperate because, again, I go back to the story because it's my only experience where it's like, hey, man, you either, like when I went from being a market research manager into sales, and then a few months later, we almost went bankrupt at the company, and I wasn't being paid in that time frame, which wasn't a big time frame, but in that time frame, it's like, you either make this work. You either make this work or it's over.
Yeah.
And so I had no excuses. I had no plan B.
Yeah.
I had to make it work. It was desperation.
Yeah, dude. No, I had many moments of desperation like that. Like when I was searching for a job at first, from Erskine College. First, um, liberal arts school, like degree, like people don't really care. Like, and
Yeah.
the guy that I talked to, um, you know, that helps you transition from college into like a job and stuff like that. Like he was a school counselor or whatever. He said like,
Yeah.
dude, this school costs over $40,000 a year. And he was like, well, you can start as a bank teller, you can, do all these jobs and stuff like that. I feel like, first there's no way I'm gonna start as a bank teller. This is, you know, I've worked hard and I did so much here. Like I had lots of moments of desperation at school because my English was not that good. But it's hard when you are studying stuff in a different language, and I had a moment of desperation where I had one shot at SATs and still had to take them in English, and I had to get I had to not only pass but I had to get a pretty high score in order to get into a school, um, that and also had to there's also a TOEFL test, which is like for English. I also get to take that, and I had only one shot because I didn't know that I had to take it until the last one available was, was running, and I had 2.5 weeks to prepare for it. I didn't know what SATs were, 2.5 weeks before an SAT. Thank God for math. Thank God for math. Math saved me, but that was the desperation, man. When they gave me,
That's
and I got
crazy.
18 books like that I torrented. I'm gonna take this part out. Um,
Can't.
yeah,
It's already
my
out
dad
there,
helped
man.
me. My
Listen,
dad was like,
everybody.
just go at it, and I did well.
Yeah.
You know, they didn't count the essay, thankfully, but I did well. You know, like,
Thankfully.
but yeah, but
Uh,
for a job like that was very trying because for 6 months, like I said, okay, I have to get the job, and I'm about to get married. I have to get a job because what am I gonna do? I can't. Um, how are we gonna live? you know,
yeah.
I have to get the job. So he had so many interviews, like figured out things how to do. I knew I can do these jobs, but it's hard, especially if you have an accent. People are not taking it. First interviews are typically like, oh, you have an accent. Um,
It's sad that that's the
they don't
reality,
say it,
man.
but it is the reality. Like,
It
oh
is. It
yeah,
is the reality. People like familiar stuff, and when you have an accent, it doesn't come off familiar, and there's a little bit of an aversion because they're
yeah,
like, is this going to work out? I don't know. I've never had to deal with anybody with this kind of accent before, and that's I wish people were more normal, because that's not a normal thing. Like,
yeah.
yeah,
Especially if you're trying to get into a customer facing, like this client facing, um, position.
yeah,
And it just took a lot of time to like find the right company, which I'm still thankful for my company that took me in, but I did so well in the interview
yeah,
because I put 100%. I
yeah.
spent so many nights. I've never worked so hard in my life.
Well,
um
that's
you
you
know
though, too, man.
but
Like,
I know I feel like it was a desperation because you went probably through the same thing. I spent days and nights just working at it. So I would go to sleep like 4 a.m. just searching for jobs, applying. Some of those applications take 2 hours. Just applying. I
yeah,
applied
isn't
for
that
at
suck?
least over 1,000 jobs, like
Yeah,
all over North Carolina and South Carolina.
yeah.
I interviewed for a bunch of jobs. I got some jobs that were just terrible, and I didn't want to do that stuff like selling
Well,
vector knives,
let me
and
give you a shortcut, even though it's late. It's too late
yeah,
now to use the shortcut, but I wish I would have used it as well. When you go through those traditional resume application process,
yeah,
good luck.
yep,
Good luck. There's two ways to beat that, two loopholes to that. One of them is all of in your resume, all of the white space in your resume.
yep.
What you do is you copy the job description and you paste it into your resume and you paste it as white font so that
Oh,
when it goes through the computer sees it, but when somebody prints it or looks at it on a screen, they can't see it because the font matches the background. There's
yep,
loophole number one. A better version, find the guy who's hiring.
yep.
Call him, email him, and speak to him directly. Hey, man, I want to work for you. I've seen what you're doing. I know where your company's going, and I desire greatly to support you guys and learn from you and work from you.
That's a good
Immediately,
lesson.
you jump ahead of 1,000 people.
Yep, that's a good lesson. Yep. You know,
Yeah,
that's what that counselor should have told me. Like, at not, you can try these jobs. There was like literally no help. You know, I had to, I make my own resume and do all this stuff. Like, I didn't know what resume was, dude. And this guy was like, oh, you're gonna have to come some other business. I didn't know what the business day was,
yeah,
what's a business day, but
dude.
it's just funny.
Counselors are not going to help you. If they were ambitious, they'd go out and get a job, not
Yeah,
fall into a position to where they have no business acumen. You know?
yeah, but yeah, just to finish my point, like my wife and I lived in a kind of it was a foreclosed house that didn't have like um yeah, there was no AC, there was no electricity, Literally, there was no Wi-Fi. Um, there was no hot water, but it was a great, like, it was a great experience because it fires lights up fire under your ass, and you just
Oh, does it ever?
grind. But I'm talking even like, like th- imagine having that feeling, or whatever it is. Like, it might be really bad for your body or whatever that mother has when she's lifting that car. Imagine if you can just unlock that feeling anytime. And let's say, like, all right, I need to do these things for work today. I need to get, I don't know, 500,000 in sales today. It's really like the equivalent of what this woman is doing, and
Yeah.
you do it in one day, and you can do it any day. Like, imagine having that. I mean, not everyone can have that power because the system wouldn't work then.
Yeah.
But you would be a superhuman comparing to your regular human, like the regular Joe, if you were able to harness that, like, on demand.
Yeah.
If you think about it, like in
Why do
anything.
you think you can't harness it?
But that's the thing. Like, I'm thinking, how can you harness it? Or even if you can harness like 10% of that, because one thing that I notice about me, like in the morning I wake up, I have a ton of energy, and
Yeah.
then as the day goes, I'm just done. Like by lunchtime, I do like 80% of my work, like I do by 11 a.m. Like, I mean, I'm just like on point. Like, I wake up super early, I start early, I do all these things, and then like I feel like I'm more and more like reactive instead of proactive. If
Yeah.
I can stay like that, but what if I could do even better than what I'm doing in the morning? Like, that's what I'm talking about. Like, how can you, like, it feels like there's only a certain amount of energy throughout the day.
Yeah.
Uh, it's not only the time, it's also the energy. Like, how much energy do you use, and how can you um, revive yourself? Like, I've tried. So I've tried this week. I've tried meditation, which actually has been helping.
Yeah, it
I would
works.
find a random meditation on YouTube and just listen through it like midday, take 20 minutes, it's my lunchtime, and just go to this meditation. And
What
it
about the
would help.
meditation do you think it attributes to you being more energetic and positive?
To me, it's just getting me back to that state that I had in the morning. Like in the
Yeah.
morning, I sit.
But what about it gets you there?
I feel like, I mean, so I read a study. It's a Harvard study that says, it was talking about how if you take a nap, like, in it was a certain amount of time, it helps information and stuff crystallize in your brain, and like,
Hmm.
especially if you're learning stuff. Um, it's They say it's very good to actually take a nap throughout the day because it crystallizes stuff in your brain, and then you wake up, and then what I've tried that. Like, I remember taking a nap in a car, and I would go back to work, and I would feel more revived, and I would have more energy for the rest of the day. But like, can you get to even, like, because you probably want to go to that REM sleep, right? And can you get there through meditation, or I don't know. I I'm I feel like people who do meditation more regularly, they get into some deeper state. I've never done meditation regularly. I don't know. I'm going on and on here. I don't even know what my point is. It's something that I have to research more by myself. But
Yeah, your point is finding there's a gate in your mind, and if you can open the gate and cross over that threshold, then you can access a certain unlimited power that you didn't know you had. And the question is, how do I open that gate? Like, what is the gate? Is that gate just initial doubt? And if it is just initial doubt, how can I train myself so that my first instinct isn't to consider the doubt? It's my initial instinct is that doubt never even comes into that thought. I have an idea and I do it. I act, right? It's not I have
yeah,
an idea, I think about the bad things that could happen, and I can consider myself. That's kind of what happens, right? Let's talk about the decision process when you have an idea that you really want to pursue.
yep,
If we deconstruct that decision process, that's exactly what happens. You have this idea, you get excited, And then the next thing you think about is immediately for me, well, what happens if it goes wrong?
Hmm.
Well, I'd get embarrassed. I'd lose time. I might waste money. All of these things creep into your head. And so what's the next reaction? Nah, I'm not gonna do it. Right?
Yeah.
But what if you could train yourself not to go into that negative comparative analysis and just jump straight into, here's a great example. So when I proposed to my wife, I had no idea what I was doing. All I knew was she was amazing, and she was beautiful, and she was everything I ever thought she's everything I ever wanted, didn't think I could have. And then I had the opportunity to have her. And so when I proposed, my wife and I, we were dating long distance. And when I came back, my next obstacle was, okay, I need to start saving money up as quick as I can because I need to bring this woman to this state, marry her, and then on top of that, there's a whole bunch of other things I need to get. So what I started doing was building a calendar. Like in my head, I had already committed to this working out. And you know what? I think that might be the solution, right? Commit to this, have an idea, and then convince yourself that this idea is going to work out. And then once you convince yourself, commit to that idea with a date. I need to have this idea actuated by January 2021. And then you work backwards. All right, so that gives me December, November, October, September, August, July, June, May. Gives me 8 months. 8 months times 30, that gives me 240 days. All right, so if I need to raise 10 grand in 240 days, I need to figure out a way to make $41 a day so that in 8 months, whatever I need 10 grand for, I will, I'll have it. And so by first convincing yourself it's going to work out, committing to it, setting a date, and then working backwards so you can figure out how long of a time frame you have to get to your accomplishment, and then filling in that time frame with actionable goals. All right, I have 8
Yeah.
months and 240 days. I need to make $41 extra every day in order to reach my goal. All right, so I need to get another job. I need to start buying things on Alibaba, selling it on Facebook, and then that's exactly what I did. And
Mm.
then and so that kind of solved my solution, right? And
Yeah.
that was the first time in my life that reality, that paradigm ever hit me.
Yeah.
When
But
I put it up on a calendar and I saw it with my own eyes, it became more believable.
yeah. And you said so you added a couple I feel like it does have a couple stages. You mentioned the first stage, which is, stupid, I can't, make it, I can't do this, but then you mentioned like you were already committed, there.
Yeah,
But there is another part to it, which is doing, you know, stuff that you don't want to do on a daily basis. So I think that's, to me, that's a bigger part of any goal, because if you want to achieve something, especially in the long run, that's not giving you, satisfaction of daily results or anything like
yeah,
that. Like for example, working out, one being one of them. You're not going to see muscles in like first week or two or a month or 2 months. No, you're
once
not
you're
going to
dark
see
out.
anything. Um, you have to be willing to commit every day, doing stuff, repetitive stuff every day. Not see any result or anything like that for months
Yeah,
until you see something rewarding. I feel like you need to go through something like that in order to understand, you know, um, how it works. And I do know that you know how that works. I know that I know how it works because and you probably like I feel like a lot of people who did sports, because you did wrestling, you didn't get very good at wrestling by, you did it through repetition, repeating the same movement over and over again. And I did it through like I was shooting a basketball in the gym. I was terrible. I was a terrible shooter. My shooting technique, and I didn't have to learn from anyone. It's just doing it over and over again. And every move was different. Every shot was
Mhm.
different. Every move that you make, every time you do something, it's different than the last time because you did it one more time.
Yep.
Even if it feels like it's the same, no, it is not. You are, gaining experience. You are getting better. You are moving forward. You think about it like I just did this, you know 1,000 time, and I just need to do it 1 million times, but I'm getting closer to my goal once I get to the 1 million. Like say playing a guitar, you know, you just have to do it on a daily basis, and you're gonna suck for a while. You're gonna
Yep.
suck for a long time. No one's gonna want to hear that. Um, Eventually, you're gonna start sounding, pretty good.
Yep.
You know, I feel like that's how it is with a lot of things, and I'm preaching to the choir here. Not, I mean, maybe someone who is listening to this, maybe it will be useful for them, but and we all wish that we knew some of these things. Like we knew this stuff when we did it. We didn't know this stuff when we did it, probably. No, it's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. No,
But
that's well said, man. Well said.
yeah,
Another analogy that I really like is just when you look at a brick wall or a brick house, you
yeah,
know, it's just one brick at a time, man. And then the
yep,
next thing you know, you have a house. It happens.
yeah,
That's it. I mean, you focus on that one brick and you focus on laying it perfectly,
yep,
right? And then when you're done with that one, you move to the next one. You lay it perfectly. And the next thing you know, you have this gorgeous two-story house
yeah.
made out of bricks.
Dude, there's so many analogies. I love those analogies, by the way. Like that's
Dude,
another one
it's
that I
perfect.
haven't thought of that one. But there's another one is also ice. Like for ice to melt, you start with if you start with a very low temperature and you start warming it up, ice is not going to melt until it reaches a certain temperature. Like which is
Yep.
what is it in Fahrenheit? I know it's zero. It's it's a zero. It's above 0 degrees Celsius when ice starts to melt, but I'm not sure what it is in
Fahrenheit.
Fahrenheit. But yeah,
30.
like
I believe it's 32 degrees Fahrenheit.
if it's 32, like if you start at like at 0 Fahrenheit, you're not going to see any results. You're gonna have to ramp up that heat until 32 in order to start seeing any results. And it's like they say, yeah, it's not. There's one saying that this guy James Clear uses in this book, Atomic Habits. Um, like I don't know what is. Essentially, it's saying like if you need to hit a stone 100 times in order to break it, it's not the last time that you hit it the time that broke the stone. It's those 99 times before that time that helped you get there.
Yep.
So yeah, it's crazy. I feel like that's a good way for us to kind of wrap up. I think that we kind of got through some good points there, and it's getting late.
Solid points. Yep. I
Yeah,
agree, man. This has been another episode, dude. Episode 7.
yeah.
Episode 7.
I think it's actually. I mean, I don't even know at this point. It could
Wait,
be
8? Is it 8? It's
eight,
8. Episode 8. I'm
or
lying,
is it
everybody.
a not? It could be 6. I honestly don't even know.
No,
But
no, you're
yeah,
right. It's 8. You said that in the beginning, and I totally forgot.
I don't even know at this point. But yeah,
Episode
guys,
8.
thank you again. I'm gonna give you a thumbs up, and
Nice. I didn't know you could do that.
yeah,
I
you
want to.
got
I
those
want to do that,
reactions, and I also am gonna give you an applause, friend.
dude.
Um,
Baller.
and I'm gonna give you another thumbs up.
Yeah.
People in Brazil, I'm sorry, I'm giving you a thumbs up.
Is that bad?
Yeah, I think it's bad. It's like flipping them off. I don't. I've heard. You know, I shouldn't be just throwing these around, I guess. But anyway, thank you guys again, and that was the episode 7/8/6 or whatever it is.
Slacks a billion.
Yep,
There you go. Well, that's been good.
431. So yeah.
Awesome,
All right,
guys.
guys.
Thanks a lot for joining in. This has been Ben and Darko on the Quarantiners. Subscribe, like, share. We're going to blow up. Just give us
Yep.
time. Thank you guys
Yep.
for listening. Hope you guys stay blessed and have an awesome week.
Bye, guys.